Now joined by fellow TSN NFL reporter Farhan Lalji. Now, Farhan and I have been discussing what an All-22 NFL Team Canada would look like today, as well as what the potential future of the quarterback position could be in the NFL for Canadians. So, Farhan, what have we learned doing this exercise?
Well, I think the one thing that's clear is there is no one set path to get to the National Football League coming from Canada. And you could potentially do it by staying in Canada for your entire high school career. I'm not sure the quarterback position necessarily qualifies, but certainly the other 6 positions, you can do that. And that's not necessarily the case in the NBA, where such a high majority of players make their way into the United States for high school before spending a bit of time in college and then eventually getting to the NBA. But as we went through this exercise, you see so many names like Dean Leonard, Eamon Ogbongbemiga, Tavius Robinson, Benjamin St-Juste, Chase Claypool, and others who did their entire high school careers in Canada. In fact, 21 of the 36 players that are at NFL camps currently played their high school football in its entirety in Canada. So there's a lot of different ways to get there. And as a Canadian high school coach or a former coach, I'm certainly excited at that possibility.
And of course, there are 7 NFL players from Canada who played all of their university football in this country as well. None among our starting defense, but we do have a couple of U Sports alumni in the Baltimore Ravens, Tavius Robinson, and the Chargers, Dean Leonard, because those two started their university careers at Guelph and Calgary, respectively, then transferred to Ole Miss when COVID shut down university football in Canada. They excelled down there, and both became draft picks from paths that included Canadian schools.
The other thing that stands out to me is the brotherhood these Canadian players in the NFL have with each other, and they generally get to know one another late in their high school careers. If they're playing at some of the top events like the CFC Prospects game, or if they're making a name for themselves at the NCAA, these guys reach out to one another. They're on chat groups with one another. And, you know, just the shout-outs, and when they get to the NFL, the jersey swaps. Jesse Luketa told us it's basically the law that if you're playing against another Canadian player at the end of the game, you swap jerseys. And, you know, I know a player at Eastern Washington currently named Nolan Ulm who's really doing a lot of great things in the leadership and mental toughness space. And Elok Aomaner from Stanford right now connected with him, and those two have formed a really strong relationship. Just seeing that happen in the NFL, and even before the top players get to the NFL, is pretty heartwarming to see.
Well, and here's something that's a part of that brotherhood you speak of, and that is the dedication to want to pave the way for the next generation of Canadians to reach the NFL. I don't think I've ever been around a group of athletes where that is so top of mind. I mean, back in July, I was there in Ottawa where Jesse Luketa held his camp. Luigi Villan, Jonathan Sutherland, Benjamin St-Juste were all there to support him. Other players do the same things in other parts of the country, but I think it's mentioning how much pride these guys take in paying it forward. And, you know, even this year, I watched when Theo Johnson was drafted by the New York Giants. He was at his home in Windsor. The first thing he did was he went down to the lawn of the City Hall in Windsor where they were having their NFL draft party, and he signed autographs for an hour and a half. And I talked to a young player who was watching him, and he said right to me, I want to follow his path. That's the kind of thing I think we're going to see continuing. We've already seen it, and these players want to keep that torch being passed.
Here in Western Canada, I mentioned Nolan Ulm, who's at Eastern Washington, a place that so many CFL players came out of, and Cooper Kupp's former school. He held a camp in his hometown in Kelowna. He's done it for the 2nd straight year now. Keelan White, who's another star receiver in that same conference at Montana, came up and took part. Keelan's also put together a comic book which features him now that he's able to take advantage of NIL and those resources, and it's called Spider-Man because that's his nickname at Montana. He wants to inspire some younger kids to get involved in football and just try to do anything they can to reach their dreams. So just seeing what some of these kids are doing to pay that way forward is a lot of fun to watch.
Well, we've seen this new wave of NFL Canadians descend upon us, but you get the sense this is just the beginning. The current wave of Canadian talent in the NFL has broken the glass ceiling, and we can't wait to see what the future holds for Canadians in the National Football League.